So here, I actually thought this would be cool because we see this every year in and year out, of an organization that's on the bottom of payroll, and they figure it out. And it starts with pitching. It starts and ends with pitching. It just so happens that the Tampa Bay Rays this year are mashing as well. That's why they are where they are in the standings. But if you look at this right here, mostly I wanted to isolate more pitchers than any of those other teams. Look at brand names on top. Of course, you see the Yankees with their payroll and what they do. The Guardians have done an unbelievable job as well.
Yeah.
But they have to use a lot of pitchers. What does that mean? That means they're up and down with AAA Durham. And what they have created is not a single bullet, if you will. There's a lot of tentacles and facets to this. So
it's a factory.
It's a factory. The Tampa Rays.
Easy.
So here, I wanted to go back.
Get your goggles.
Well, Andrew Friedman, I'm going way back there, and Eric Neander, but also now with Matt Silverman. It's been a continuity since Stuart Sternberg, the owner. I wanted to go back to 08. There's been terrific pitchers also from early on, but since 08, and that moment there when they won the ALCS against Boston, yes, there's David Price right out of Vanderbilt, and they go on to the World Series. They end up losing to the Phillies, but what an unbelievable...
James Shields.
Shields, yeah. Here's the factory. Shields going out for that World Series game. He was a guy being developed and understanding the process and routine and program of what the Rays have been able to develop. And they do it because they can't buy the big free agents. Matt Moore. Alex Cobb. Remember Matt
Moore had a good run.
Yes, he did. He was a very important part of that team with the big curveball and changeup plus velocity guy. Well, Cobb, you talk about resurrecting his career after numerous injuries, but it's all started there, and then now most recently with San Francisco. Jake Odorizzi. Want to include guys that were also traded.
Matt Garza.
Because they end up having to then be developed. Archer most recently, he was a Cubs draft pick, but you have these guys that end up coming over, get in the system, and understand what's important. And what's important is strike one. Throw strikes, get ahead, and I'll show you some more statistics on it, but Archer was one of them. Let's go most recently, McClanahan. 9-1 right now. Last night again, yesterday, terrific start. Right at a 2 ERA. Tyler Glasnow, a traded player from Pittsburgh, but I'll show you metrics on him. Eflin was a signed player. Taj Bradley has improved and developed a cutter. He's been terrific, this guy. The metrics and repertoire and pitch sequence is really important to an organization that knows you may not have your star player forever, but I'm going to have these guys when I have them. We're going to maximize the efficiency, right? You got McClanahan. Gas upstairs and power breaking ball. Go back to Tyler Glasnow when he was with the Pirates.
He doesn't even look the same.
Yeah, no, well, the hair too. That hair, flowing hair you're missing. But they had him like sinker, not as confident, but he was sinker guy with a similar curveball. Now it's like, hey, elevate your fastball, throw a greater percentage, and you got the big curveball. Like, that's what it is. You simplify, find the strengths of your pitcher, and isolate that and make that really important. Tyler Glasnow is a perfect example of it. Obviously he had the injury and the surgery. He's back. And we'll see how that goes with his career splits. But you look there, I couldn't find a guy that was more discernible with prior to. Now, granted, he was a young guy, kind of finding himself with Pittsburgh, a 5.7 ERA. You see the numbers. It's not even close. The elevated fastballs I wanted to exploit because you're trying to get a guy who throws 95 to 100 in Pittsburgh throwing sinkers. Why? Doesn't make sense. So that's where they go. All right. Allow this. Give me a breather here. Scouting. Where are the checklists? Because it's not a single thing. I haven't been able to read or my scouting of asking people, what is it? You drafted players in scouting, and then you trade. Development, delivery, identifying the strengths, as I said, pitch sequencing, pitch repertoire, the technology. There's a lot of technology that's used. There's a lot of organizations that spend millions of dollars on technology, Rapsodo, Edgertronics, TrackMan, Kinetrax, and all of this stuff. They don't really have the people to be able to decipher it and then narrow it down to your specific needs. They do an excellent job. And then the mental training. Kyle Snyder is a guy that I have to include. He's been in the organization a long time. He was a coordinator. He was a AAA pitching coach. He's now in the big leagues. You have guys that, like Blake Snell, refers to him as like kind of a mentor second dad. Process, program, and routine, a competitive advantage. I couldn't say that there's one thing. Well, I'll tell you, statistically, we talk about it all the time. I don't care if you're doing softball, Little League, or wherever. First pitch strikes and strikes. If you can get ahead, what did we talk about yesterday with the lack of creativity or uncertainty when it comes to a guy like Alek Manoah, who didn't do well yesterday? He throws a sinker, fastball, slider. There's nothing creative about it. So I wish there was one thing. There's not. It's an attitude. Yeah. And it's a mindset of when guys get into the organization, they know that they're going to get better.